What is going on, all you Pokemon collecting maniacs out there? This is Ryan, the PikiPikaPapa, and as most of you know, I keep a ton of data behind the scenes. I have Excel sheets and Excel sheets full of all kinds of really cool Pokemon information and data points. I do it for a bunch of different reasons, right? One of them, it's fun for me, believe it or not, I actually enjoy collecting all that information. The others, I think it allows me to produce some unique and hopefully entertaining content for all of you. And the third reason is I do take this seriously. Like, I work very hard for my money. I know you work very hard for yours, and so anytime I decide to spend it on a Pokemon product with the hopes that it's going to appreciate in value in the long run, right, not something for my personal collection, I like to do that with the most information I have, because listen, past performance does not predict future results. You never know what the future might hold. We don't have crystal balls, but I do believe that lessons from the past applied to the present can give us some idea of what might happen in the future. And so right now, with everything that's going on with the Surging Sparks booster boxes up over $200, I thought it'd be a really cool opportunity for us to kind of take a step back and see how some of these Sword and Shield era booster boxes performed over time. And if you look at this graph right here, 40 months ago, which I can't believe it's been that long, 40 months ago, I started sitting in front of my computer, and at the end of every single month, I would record the booster box prices for all of the Sword and Shield sets out there. And this is Lost Origin, Brilliant Stars, Fusion Strike, Evolving Skies, and Chilling Reign. And I consider those the big 5 booster boxes from the Sword and Shield era. And you can see those different lines. They start at different points, right? Because if you go all the way, they obviously launched in different months. So the biggest thing that I'm going to talk about on this first one right here is Evolving Skies, because Evolving Skies is obviously, the statistical anomaly here. If you look at the others actually follow a relatively similar path, but you have Evolving Skies that absolutely breaks out. And on the next slide, we're going to pull Evolving Skies out so we can actually get a real look at what those other lines look like. But for right now, I wanted to jump off talking about Evolving Skies, because there's this kind of prevailing theory that I've heard in the past is, listen, every generation, almost every generation, there's one booster box that tends to significantly outperform the others. So I've heard this one theory, like, hey, listen, just save your money, whatever you would spend every month, save $300 every single month, and then once you understand whatever that big set is going to be, just buy as much as you can possibly afford of that, watch it go for a long run like Evolving Skies did right here, and then rinse and repeat. And then while you're watching your Evolving Skies go through the roof, keep saving your $300 a month, and then when you get to the next generation and you understand what the next big set is going to be, then you just reinvest into that and you rinse and repeat. Now, for me, that's not a lot of fun. For me, I believe in diversity. I don't know if every single generation is going to have an Evolving Skies, or at the end of this video, we're going to look at Sun and Moon, and obviously Team Up follows a relatively similar path here. But that was an interesting thing, and that kind of spun up the conversation here in my mind. But if you look at Evolving Skies, I mean, even if you waited until the $300 point, like even if you're somebody like me, I approach things with a little bit of trepidation, even if you wanted to wait even beyond a reasonable point until you finally realized, okay, this is the set from this era, and you waited until it hit the $300 mark, even then, up till now, I mean, it's been 2 years since it hit $300, you've almost tripled your money. So that is an incredible rate of return. Over the span of 2 short years. To triple your money in 2 years is absolutely unheard of. And again, there's no guarantees that it will continue to go on the run. There's no guarantees that it will hold on to its gains. But I will tell you this, sealed collecting in the Pokemon space has been a very, very safe investment in terms of it depreciating. Now, there will be opportunities where the market starts to downturn. Who knows? It is Pokemon cards. But we'll just have to wait and see. But I thought that was a really cool, interesting takeaway. The other thing that I thought was interesting, simply because Surging Sparks is kind of what got this going in my mind, is if you look at this right here, it took a full year for Evolving Skies to break the $200 price point. Now, remember, Sword and Shield had a different MSRP for the booster boxes, but even with that, I mean, it took a year for Evolving Skies to break through that $200 price point, and Surging Sparks is kind of there right now. I'm not saying it's going to stay there. We're going to look at that here in a minute, but before I get into the rest of this deck, I just wanted to say, listen, we do a ton of work in the back end. I love keeping this information for you all, and I hope you find value in it. And if you do, the best way to say thank you is by hitting that subscribe button, giving us a thumbs up, or if you got a comment, drop them down below. Those 3 small things go a long way in helping my channel out, and I really appreciate it. So with that out of the way, let's pull Evolving Skies out and kind of look at how these other big 4 have performed over time. So here they are: Chilling Reign, Lost Origin, Brilliant Stars, and Fusion Strike. And that very unprofessional green line I have going up right there marks 20 months ago. And 20 months ago, what happened? Scarlet and Violet came out, right? So Scarlet and Violet came out, I think it was March 31st was the official launch date, but we'll just call it April. And Scarlet and Violet came out, and at least here in the US in the Pokemon Center, a lot of these Sword and Shield booster boxes were still available at MSRP. They were starting to get scarcer, you know, out there in the wild. And if you looked on TCG Player or Pokedata.io, you would see the market value was higher than that MSRP, even though they were still available here in the Pokemon Center in the US. But a very interesting call out that I wanted to do here is if you were collecting back then, you noticed that Brilliant Stars, the gray line there, and Lost Origin, the orange line, you see how those came out on fire, right? We don't typically see, at least then we didn't typically see booster boxes come out and get above MSRP so fast. Brilliant Stars went absolutely ham. It was up over $155 versus $144 MSRP really quick. And then Lost Origin was following the exact same trend. And then what happened right here is where Pokemon Company International, they restocked. I don't think it was a reprint, right? Everybody always talks reprint, restock, whatever. All that matters is they put a lot more booster boxes out there into the wild, which was fantastic because I think that's a lesson. I do think that obviously it's wild not to think this would happen. All of us know there's going to be more Surging Sparks booster boxes, right? So it might get frothy here for a while, but I think the Pokemon Company International is going to do exactly what they did with Brilliant Stars, exactly what they did with Lost Origin here. And when it starts getting too hot to trot, too early, they're going to push more out into the field. We're going to have some, it's going to lower the booster box price, and hopefully we'll be able to have another shot at, you know, Surging Sparks booster boxes at a lower point. So I thought that was a really cool takeaway, and I thought that was something to mention with everything that's going on right now out in the market. So the next thing I wanted to mention is this right here. So after Scarlet and Violet was launched, and as I said, these boxes were still available here on the Pokemon Center in the US, and after they did their push out, the restock, if you will, of Brilliant Stars and Lost Origin, there was about 10 months where you could have bought any of these big four booster boxes at MSRP. And I know sometimes MSRP is a dirty word. Everybody wants to get their booster boxes at 90 or the $100 mark, or, you know, that's obviously the dream, but there's going to be instances, there's going to be opportunities where, guess what? Buying it at MSRP is going to be a fantastic freaking deal right now. Like, I guarantee you that if anybody else could go back and buy some of these booster boxes at MSRP, we would do it in an absolute heartbeat. So just remember that. I thought my takeaway from this slide right here was, listen, the window of opportunity, which I talk about a lot here on the channel, I talk about windows of opportunities because there's a lot of great investments almost at all times here in the Pokemon space. But when I'm trying to decide when to spend my Poké Dollars and what to spend it on, I'm looking for the items that I think have a small window of opportunity where I think that the chance to buy it at a particular price point is going away relatively soon. I'm not always right, but that's the goal of me spending my money. And when I see something like this, I think it's a really cool for me to kind of conceptualize and understand as we enter year 3 of Scarlet and Violet. There will likely be a prolonged period of opportunity to buy some of these really great booster boxes, at least at MSRP. And I know it hurts a little bit more now that MSRP has been increased, but there will be opportunities for some period of time, probably relatively deep into whatever the next generation is, to buy these booster boxes. Now, I could be totally wrong. The demand could be so high that people just absolutely buy them out. We don't have 10 months. Maybe we have 5 months. Maybe we have even less than that. We're going to have to keep an eye on that. But I thought this was a really cool call out because Sword and Shield certainly is a very, very popular, was a very, very high demand era with those alt arts and the trainer galleries and just all of the awesomeness around it. So really cool takeaway here. Now, the next thing, as I promised, was Sun and Moon, because one of the things I was talking about earlier on this video is, do you just save your money and then when the big set comes out, you just throw all your money at that and then you just sit back, pop the popcorn, eat, watch everybody else scramble around there, and you just watch your big set go and run? So I pulled the information for Sun and Moon. I didn't keep Sun and Moon data until 35 months ago. I waited 5 months before I started keeping Sun and Moon data, but still have a whole lot of Sun and Moon data coming up on 3 months worth of booster box prices here. But so Team Up was already a very, very expensive booster box at that point when I started collecting this information. But then if you look, I mean, about 2 years ago is when Team Up hit that $1,000 mark. And it's hard to imagine this, but that $1,000 booster box is now at $2,500 today. Now, Team Up, I think, is a very unique set. It was short printed. There was one print run, and we talked about pushing Lost Origin, pushing Brilliant Stars out into the field when the price started to go up. That did not happen with Team Up. Team Up, there kind of was what there was, and then it disappeared. And you got the tag team cards, you got the Lovebirds at the top, you got Gengar in Team Up, right? You got all kinds of fantastic Pokemon and cards and things going on. Plus, it was short printed. Like, there's a lot of really special things going on in Team Up. However, it still gave you the same returns as we saw, even better returns, if you will, versus Evolving Skies. I'm just saying that if 2 years ago you had the money and you had put $1,000 into a Team Up booster box, then guess what? You would be about 2.5 times where you were before. Now, the interesting thing about this one, as I was looking at it, is the booster box price for Team Up hasn't really moved over the last couple months. We're used to seeing, even in the worst of times, we're used to seeing these booster boxes at least slowly gain in value. But I'm wondering if there's some type of market ceiling for these. Not saying that it won't go up even more over time, but there's not a lot of us out there who have $2,500 in the bank right now and are sitting there looking to spend that money on a Team Up booster box. You know, the only way these prices change is when people buy them, right? It's market value. So these prices aren't tied to anything. They're not tied to the stock market, right? Stocks are tied to the revenue that a company produces, the profit margin that a company produces. It's tied to the future prospects of that company. But here, the only thing that drives the change in price of this is you and me and our buying tendencies. So I don't know if there's a ceiling for these booster boxes. Again, we see a lot of really great ones from the orders that go up, but the rate of return might slow over time, and we're seeing that with Team Up. So I thought that was a really interesting call out right there. And then the final thing right here, as I said, there's a lot of takeaways from this. There's a lot of information here. I think there's a lot of good lessons. I always say this, like the past doesn't repeat itself, but it certainly does rhyme, and none of us have a crystal ball. We don't know what the future will hold, but I'm a firm believer that in this space, especially in the Pokemon space versus any other card space I've been in, we can take lessons from the past and to give us some idea of what might happen in the future. Is Surging Sparks the next Evolving Skies? I have no freaking clue, to be honest with you. I think it is very hard to make that distinction now because we don't even know what year 3 of Scarlet and Violet is going to look like. Do I think that there's going to be some sort of restock or repush where, more of these products go out and we see the booster box prices come back down at least below MSRP? I absolutely think that's going to happen. But if it ends up being the set of the Scarlet and Violet era, I think it is really cool that we have these data points from Evolving Skies, these data points from Team Up to suggest that, hey, maybe $300 for a booster box isn't totally crazy. In the past I've said, hey, buy what will go up, not what has gone up. But when you think about the opportunity to have one of these booster boxes, the booster box from an era where at least in Sun and Moon and at least in Sword and Shield, we've seen that, that big dog from the era has these incredible returns and this growth pattern just totally unmatched compared to any of its peers. Maybe the way to get rich in the Pokemon hobby is to find that one big set, dump all your money into it, and then just sit there and watch it run. For me, it's not fun. For me, I like diversity. I enjoy the hobby. I like being a part of it all throughout the year, so I could never take that strategy, but I just thought it was an interesting call out. So I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. I hope you like these data points. As I said, I do it every single month. I'm always keeping information in the background. I have a ton of fun with it. I hope it gives you some insight into what's happened in the past, and if you made it to the end of the video and you enjoyed it, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you like what you see, give us a thumbs up, and if you got questions or comments, drop them down below. I appreciate you more than I can say, and have an epic one. See you, everybody. Bye.